For the last 78 years, one thing has predicted a bull market with 100% accuracy: the midterm election. It's happened every time since 1948. Some studies show it goes back to the 1800s. And it doesn't matter which party wins or what the economic conditions are, in war or in peace, the 12 months following a midterm election are the most profitable. In fact, post-midterm years beat the prior year 6-1. And the S&P 500 actually averages 18% gains in post-midterm years. Specifically, key stocks do even better than that. For instance, ChatGPT was released just days after the midterm election in 2022. NVIDIA soared 205% in that post-midterm boom. AMD was up 96%. Supermicrocomputer jumped 203%. The dot-com boom, that's another good example. It took off in earnest after the 1998 midterm election. The NASDAQ alone was up 103% in the following 12 months, but specific leaders in stocks: chip leader Qualcomm jumped 2,215%, Broadvision was up 1,723%, and VeriSign surged 872%. The dot-com bubble eventually burst, of course, but in the next midterm boom after the election of 2002, tech stocks roared back. Data communication stock Avaya was the biggest winner of the S&P 500 that time, up 428%. Fiber optic player Corning went up 173%, and Yahoo, an early internet favorite of course, jumped 175%. And all in 1 year, immediately after the midterm election. Well, here we are. The midterm boom is set to happen again, right after November 3rd, and a new set of stocks will leap to the front of the line. But it's even bigger than that. We believe this particular midterm boom will be the start of the greatest bull market in American history. A period of incredible prosperity where U.S. GDP growth hits 10% a year and the stock market doubles every 2 to 3 years. Google's Demis Hassabis says it's like squeezing in 10 industrial revolutions into 1 decade. And Elon Musk says we're headed for a future of amazing abundance. My name is Chris Hurt, and I am here today representing a firm called Brownstone Research, founded by Jeff Brown, a former senior executive at very well-known tech companies like Juniper Networks, Qualcomm, and NXP Semiconductors. Jeff called NVIDIA an AI company in 2016 before almost anyone else. It's up 22,145% since. He recommended Bitcoin when it was, get this, just $240. That one is up 28,921% since. He called the COVID boom nearly to the day, and he predicted SpaceX's IPO long before it became the biggest investment story of 2026. Well, now we're telling everyone to move your money before November 3rd, because right now, even while most Americans are sitting on the sidelines, unaware of what's about to happen, the big money on Wall Street is preparing for a historic boom. We know where they're putting their money, and we know why. For the average investor, it's very hard to figure out what Wall Street is doing ahead of time. Heck, a lot of Wall Street veterans have no idea how to spot these movements. But we have access to a secret weapon: proprietary tracking software that detects big money flows long before the rest of the market. Now, I know what you're thinking. Everyone claims to have some secret system, so let me show you what this one has actually done. In fact, it has flagged some of the biggest winners of the last 30 years before the move. It would have put you into Amazon in 2002. It's up 20,291% since. It flagged a series of strange institutional moves on Apple in 2005. That stock is up 11,746% since. Google is up 7,323% since this system found quiet institutional money moving into that stock. It spotted Netflix in 2010, up 6,569% since. Tesla is up 12,754% since it was flagged back in 2013. And it also flagged some strange transactions around a company called NVIDIA way back in 2000. Folks, that stock is up an astounding 70,540% since that time. With just $1,500 invested, you could have made $1 million just by having this special tool. Out of roughly 5,500 stocks it tracks, it only really fires on about 1.5% of them at any given time. So this is not a fire hose. It's really more like a sniper. And right now, that sniper is trained and locked on a tiny corner of the AI market. But it happens to be the same corner where BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, and Vanguard have been quietly stacking their chips ahead of November 3rd. In a moment, I'm going to bring out that former Wall Street whiz kid responsible for building this system. And again, he's going to explain exactly what is happening with these special AI stocks before November 3rd. His name is Jason Bodner. Jason spent over 2 decades on Wall Street as a partner and head of equity derivatives at Cantor Fitzgerald. And during his career, Jason has executed institutional trades valued at hundreds of billions of dollars. And he's used that experience to create this proprietary algorithm that flags institutional movement in stocks. And again, it's before the market or most of Wall Street catches on, and he's walking in right now. Jason, I'm sorry, that was a long introduction before I bring you out here. Hi.
Hey.
It's good to see you. I can't wait to show everybody how impressive this system of yours is. And I said it earlier, but it is true. It's like having X-ray vision into Wall Street's movements out there.
Well, it's great to be here, Chris, and I think our viewers are really going to love what they have to see today. This is a high-level Wall Street tool, and you know, even most of these guys, they don't have access to this stuff. And we're about to put this power in the hands of our viewers. It's really exciting.
Well, before we get into how the system works, can you take a minute, talk to us about the coming midterm boom?
Yeah, sure, because one thing you need to know, midterm elections lead to bull markets every single time. It's something very few investors seem to know. But Chris, for 78 years and even farther back, according to some studies, the stock market has risen immediately after the midterm election. Now, post-midterm years beat the previous year's returns 6-1. Every single time since 1948, the market has gone up after the midterm election with 100% accuracy. It doesn't even matter what's happening in the world. The 1950 midterm election was held in the middle of the Korean War, leading to a choppy market. Yet, in the 12 months after the midterm election, the market went up 22%, even as the war escalated. The same thing happened in the midst of Jimmy Carter's failed presidency. The 1978 midterm election happened as inflation was raging, and Americans, they stood in long lines just to get gas. Yet, in the 12 months after the midterm, the S&P rose 15%. That's 3 times better than the prior year. And here's what's even more remarkable, Chris. It doesn't matter who wins the election. The stock market goes up. Whether Democrat or Republican, the gains are about the same. If the standing president's party gains seats, the market goes up. If they lose seats, the market still goes up.
It's kind of fascinating, and it might be a little hard to believe that the market is all of a sudden going to take this great leap forward, especially after such a choppy year we've had here in 2026.
Well, there's actually a really simple psychological reason. Uncertainty. The years leading up to the midterm elections, like 2026, these are uncertain times. Think about all the political footballs being tossed around right now before the election, right? There's a messy transition happening at the Fed Reserve. Interest rate policy is totally uncertain. The housing market has stalled as a result. We've had a war in Iran, a few other serious military actions, and that all makes people uncertain. And the market has been jittery as a result. Chris, think about AI stocks. Every quarter, companies like NVIDIA, they're reporting record earnings. AI advances are happening daily. Profits are going up. So is spending. Yet the stocks, they drop on extremely positive quarterly earnings reports. That's uncertainty. But once the election comes, policies are going to become more certain going forward. Investors, they're no longer going to be in a holding pattern, and all this pent-up money, it bursts to the surface. And then the stocks, they take off. The first few weeks and months after the election tend to be the hottest part. Now, another midterm boom is coming. It all starts with the November 3rd election. But here's what's even better. I can show you where the institutional money, this is the biggest banks and players in the world, are positioning themselves before the election. And it's not where you think at all. You see, my proprietary tool allows me to see smart money moves before they happen, long before regular investors would ever know about it. But according to our backtest and live data, it has predicted stock market movements with 85% accuracy. I call it's like having X-ray vision on what the smart money is doing.
Right.
And right at this moment, it sees Wall Street quietly moving its money into a surprising part of the AI market. While the mainstream is focused on chips or energy, the smart money is heading somewhere else, quietly, in anticipation of November 3rd.
Well, what is it specifically about this year's election that is so special or different?
Right. Well, it's not necessarily about the election per se. Like I said before, history shows we're going to get a midterm boom, and no matter who wins,
right,
it's coming. But it's more about the timing. Chris, you just showed us that ChatGPT came out right after the 2022 midterm election, right? And the dot-com bubble took off after the 1998 midterm election. Well, two massive forces are colliding right now. And I think the combination will ignite a historic wealth wave. First, you have the certainty that comes after the midterm. And this means AI companies can understand the rules for the road ahead for at least the next 2 years. Where are they able to build data centers? Where can they acquire clean energy? The midterm will answer all those questions.
I see.
Which means the big companies, the hyperscalers, companies like Amazon, Google, SpaceX, Microsoft, etc., they can all safely increase their spending in what's becoming a $1 trillion AI arms race. But right around the same time as the midterm election, a massive flood of money is surging into the AI market. I'm talking about the 3 biggest IPOs in AI history. So we had SpaceX, right? That's already gone public at a value of over $2 trillion. But Anthropic is next. That's the maker of Claude AI, right? And you just talked about ChatGPT. That's OpenAI. They make ChatGPT. So both these IPOs are expected to be worth well over $1 trillion, possibly even 2. So both these companies have filed to go public, and they're speeding to market so they can cash in on the wave of investment in AI companies and hot IPOs. So you see, there are 2 types of companies when it comes to AI. There's the spenders and the receivers.
Spenders and receivers. Well, who are the spenders then?
Oh, great question. The companies who are building huge large language models for their AI projects, these are the biggest companies in the world. And we talked about a few earlier: Amazon, Google, Microsoft, SpaceX, Meta. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang reckons these companies will spend over $1 trillion a year building data centers. And that was before the IPO mania. So now, add multiple trillions from SpaceX, Anthropic, and OpenAI's IPOs, and you're talking about a flood of money. And it's headed into the hands of a few critical companies here.
Which would be the receivers, I assume. Now, which companies are those, Jason?
Well, AI data centers, they require a lot of expensive parts, Chris. NVIDIA is a great example of a receiver who's seen its stock soar in the past 4 years, since AI spending ratcheted up with the release of ChatGPT. NVIDIA's stock has soared 1,210%. Now, another chip maker, AMD, that stock is up 628% since. Even a smaller company like Vertiv, which makes cooling systems for data centers, that thing's up 2,170% since late 2022. And the spending over the next few years are going to make the last few look like just a drop in the bucket.
Right. So, Jason, that is what happened last time. But where is all this money going to go this time, beginning November 3rd? What are the receivers, or who are the receivers we should be looking out for?
Okay, so I'll show you in just a moment using my proprietary tool. Using that, we can see exactly where that smart money is going ahead of time, Chris. Now, it's not where you might think, like traditional AI stocks like NVIDIA and the others. Instead, quietly, money is flowing into a critical sector of AI most investors have never even heard of. This is where you need to be before the midterm boom begins on November 3rd. These companies are critical to data center compute power. But Chris, they don't make the chips. Yet the part that they do make is the biggest choke point in AI data centers. It's even harder to get these parts than to find reliable sources of energy. But when Anthropic and OpenAI cash in on their trillion-dollar IPOs, and the spenders, they suddenly feel more comfortable emptying their pocketbooks after the midterm elections, orders for this critical component are going to explode. And the companies who make it will see big stock market moves. And that's why the biggest institutional investors in the world are quietly positioning themselves right now. And I believe they're waiting for the midterm boom and the surge of money coming with these IPOs.
Okay, I think I'm following you here. Now, before we get into those companies specifically, let's take a minute, talk to us about how you created the system.
Yeah, so it's actually a bit of a sad personal story. You see, I started at Cantor Fitzgerald in July of 2001, and my desk was on the trading floor on the 104th floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center. A month later, I got transferred to the London office, and just a month after that was September 11th. So I watched on television as the buildings I'd been standing in just weeks earlier were on fire and came down. Our firm, Chris, we lost 657 people. On my desk alone, out of 15 of us, we lost 14 guys. The only one who made it was running his kid to school that morning. And most of them, these guys, they were my age, they were in their 20s.
It's a terrible, terrible tragedy. I'm so sorry, Jason. Now, what did you do afterwards?
Well, I didn't feel comfortable just sitting there in London, so I put my hand up, I volunteered to fly back and help rebuild our business. My otherwise empty plane, it came in a week later, and I'll never forget. I was looking out that window as we flew into JFK, and I still saw the smoke rising from the site. It changed how I thought about life and wasting time.
I can absolutely imagine that. And that actually directly led, I guess, to you creating this unique system of yours.
Well, yeah, pretty much, because once we were back up and running, they threw me in the deep end of the pool as a broker in London. My job was to execute trades for the biggest players in the world, and we're not talking retail investors. We're talking about hedge funds and billionaires, right? And when the folks watching at home, they want to buy a stock, you know, they open up their app and they type in the ticker and you put in whatever amount of money, a few hundred or a few $1,000s. The whole thing takes like 2 minutes, right? But when Warren Buffett or Bill Ackman, when they want into stocks, they're moving billions of dollars at times. They don't use an app. They call a broker. And that was me.
Yeah. Can you give us a sense of the scale of that kind of operation?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I was thrown in the pool, and one of my very first trades was 30 million shares of a European telecom company. And that trade alone was worth about $60 million. Now, at the time, I felt like, you know, this was all the money in the world. But within a couple of years, if a trade was under $100 million, I might even hand it off to one of my juniors.
Yeah, pocket check. It's such a different universe than the rest of us normal investors will ever see and experience.
It totally is. It totally is. And that's exactly how I had my aha moment. You know, Newton's apple on my head, because once I started to notice something about how stocks actually move, and I'm not Newton, by the way, but something I bet 99% of investors don't understand. But once I saw it, it's you can't unsee it.
Right. What is it that you saw?
Well, big money moving in and out doesn't just predict where stock's going, Chris. It's what actually moves it there. So most investors think a stock climbs because the company posted great earnings or it launched a hot product. And of course, that is part of it. But there's a totally different force underneath the market that nobody sees, almost nobody. The giant institutional whales. They can't buy billions of dollars in stock, in one day without giving up their hand and ruining the price. So they do it in small batches, a couple of million here, a couple of million there. and I was actually the guy helping them do it. So take one day in 2010, Chris. A friend of mine at another big bank, he calls me up and he's got this big client, a famous investor who I didn't know at the time, but it's one our viewers would know, he wants a piece of a beaten down retail stock. He starts with about $2 million worth. Easy. I find the shares, he buys them in seconds. Then he calls me back. Hey, Jay, you got any more? By the end of the day, I had sold him 20 million bucks of it. I was ecstatic. But then the next day, I got the same call. And then the day after that, and the day after that, this went on for a month, Chris. I mopped up every single share I could find, all told, about 20 million shares.
And the stock?
Well, the stock, it rocketed up nearly 70% in just a month. And CNBC was all buzzing and Kramer was slamming his buttons talking about it. But here's the thing. Nothing had changed at the company. There was no new product. There was no blowout earnings. The stock, it went up for one simple reason, right? The buying that I was funneling into it was literally lifting the stock higher. Later, I learned it was a $20 billion hedge fund quietly had taken more than 15% stake in the company through brokers like me. And that is the moment it all clicked.
You saw it then. You could just follow the big money and win.
Well, yes, but that's part of the trap too, because big money alone isn't just enough. You put big money flowing into a company with truly elite fundamentals, now that is the pièce de résistance. That's the rarest, most powerful setup in the market. This big money, it's typically the signal. The company has reached its inflection point, a pivotal moment that leads to a lasting change in fortunes, right? The stock is headed up because Wall Street wants it to head up.
I see. And you built a machine, so to speak, to actually find these inflection points, as you call it?
I did, yeah. Yeah, because these whales, they can't hide forever. They leave little ripples, little footprints. A stock quietly gaps higher. Volume runs hotter than normal. Maybe volatility ticks up a little bit. The price breaks above a recent range. These are tiny tells, invisible almost to everybody. So I built an algorithm to watch for them across roughly 5,500 stocks every single day. And on any given day, it only flags about 1.5% of them. It tells me when the whales are quietly moving in, and just as important, when they're trying to sneak out. And then I layered one more thing on top, Chris.
The fundamentals?
You nailed it. Okay, that's right. For 2 decades on Wall Street, I picked the brains of the sharpest investors I had ever met. These were my clients. The key things that they looked for: debt levels, growth of sales and earnings, margins expanding. I distilled all of it into a checklist, and I built it right into the system itself. So the software doesn't just show me where that money's going, it shows me where the money is going and if the company's worth owning in the first place. So the software doesn't just show me where the money's going. Remember, show me the money? It also shows me where the money is going and if the company is worth owning in the first place.
Right. Well, let's take a closer look now and put everything up on the screen right now, and you can step us through this.
Yeah, great. So this is what I call a flow map. Now, the green over here are the big money signals flowing in. That's big institutional money pouring in. Now, if there were red, which you don't see here, that would be money flowing out, but this has just been a one-way train. So I want to show you how this works in the real world, Chris. Now, this one up here is Celestica. It's a recent one. Most people have never even heard of this company. It's an amazing AI company. And the stock was really quiet headed into this chart. But then look, right here as mid-June starts, you see these green bars.
Sure.
Right? It lit up green on the flow map. It's a small bar coming in, and then another a few days later, and then another, and then even another. So at this point, I've been doing this a while, Chris. Experience told me what I was looking at. This is not just one giant institutional order happening at once. It's sliced into small pieces. And this is so it's small enough to stay invisible to almost anyone but me using this bespoke system. Sure enough, this green signal, after my system flagged it in July, of 2023, Celestica went on to peak up to 2,445%. So Chris, this wasn't a fluke because look, you got the same fingerprints all over Broadcom. Look right here. After this signal in November of 2011, down here, the stock explodes up 13,684%. Now, it's the same story over here with AppLovin. These green, they started lighting up in early 2024. And again, and again, and again. And then boom, look, that green circle shows what I was just talking about, but then the stock exploded 754% since. Now, let's look at Vistra. This is a power company feeding the AI data center boom. And this saw big money start flowing in way back in 2022. This is well before ChatGPT was released. And you see those green bars moving along. That's money pouring in. But over here, now you see that green circle. That's what we were just talking about. The stock zoomed 609% since. One more, Palantir. You ever heard of it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, got those same signals lighting up green like a Christmas tree early 2024. And that's before, on this next chart, you can see that green circle. That's before the stock climbed 476% at its peak. Phenomenal. I see this pattern, Chris, over and over and over again. The whales surface, my map catches the ripples, and weeks or even months later, the rest of the world would finally catch on. Now, of course, these are some of the most successful examples here, and I can't promise everything my system identifies will perform this way.
I understand. Let me ask you this. How accurate are we talking here, Jason? I mean, is it literally every time your system flags one of these movements and verifies the stock is worth buying fundamentally? I mean, how often does the stock actually go up?
Giving it to you straight here, Chris, more than 85% have climbed at least 20% from the original signal. And the average flag stock more than doubled at its peak. Now, it's not perfect, but nothing is, right? But those are the kind of odds I will take all day long.
Well, I'm with you. I agree completely. It's a very compelling and yet a simple system to use too. I want to jump ahead here to the reason that we're really here today. I think everybody out there watching wants to know, what is it that you're seeing right now? Can you show us where the smart money is moving right now ahead of November 3rd?
It's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
But I'd be glad to show you.
Okay.
In fact, let's do it right now. Let's give some space here. Here's the first stock. Keep in mind, this is an AI company, but it's not one of the Magnificent Seven. It has almost no profile with the general public. Yet, you can see these green inflows, they start picking up and they start lighting up. This isn't just one signal. It's signal after signal after signal, stacking up for months. And that is the exact fingerprint I just showed you with our other examples. It's the one that appeared before Celestica, right? It's the one that appeared before Palantir, before some of these biggest winners this system has ever caught. A giant institutional order broken into slices here.
And the firms doing the buying?
Right, well, those would be the biggest on planet Earth, Chris. We're talking BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, Vanguard. And this stock is ready to pop. It's already inching forward as we speak. But I believe these Wall Street firms, I think they're loading up ahead of the midterm election, because after the midterms and these three massive AI IPOs are complete, it will be the signal for AI spending far beyond what we've seen so far. Companies that supply data centers with critical components, they're going to see orders grow exponentially and profits with it. My system grades every stock it flags. Right now, this stock is near the top of the entire market. The green, it's big money pouring in. And here's what separates a fad from an outlier. The fundamentals are elite too. This means revenue's accelerating, margins are expanding. And this is the exact checklist that I built over 20 years. Big money and great fundamentals at the same time. That is the magic combination, and that is the rarest setup there is. And it's not the only stock showing this kind of movement. Let's look at the second one here. Now, company B is in the same corner of the AI market. Same story. quiet, nothing happening. And then boom, you get a green light. And another one starts lighting and you get them stacking up signal after signal. This is the same fingerprint I was showing you before. The big money is moving into both of these names at the same time. Chris, this almost never happens. And when it does, I pay attention.
Sure. Now, I'm just curious, how does this stack up against the winners that you showed us earlier?
Honestly, this is one of the strongest readings I've seen since Celestica lit up in 2023. And that's right before it ran more than 2,500%. Now, I am not promising those numbers. Nobody can. Obviously, all investments carry risks, and past performance is no guarantee of future success. But the setup, the fingerprint, it is the same. And there's a catalyst those names didn't have.
The midterm.
Yes, okay. Exactly. So the money is flowing in right now. That's just the beginning. And when the midterm boom hits on November 3rd, the money funneling into this sector, it will turn into a flood. And these two stocks that I just talked about, they could lead the way.
So I just want to make this clear, according to your system, these are the two stocks leading into the midterm boom.
They're at the top of my entire list, and both are flashing green. Both have elite fundamentals. Both are sitting in the exact part of the AI market that Wall Street is quietly piling into.
But why these two particular stocks, Jason? There's got to be a reason for that.
Yeah, I believe there is, Chris. You see, there's something most investors have totally missed about AI data centers. Everyone thinks about, its chips or its energy. And of course, those matter. But the real bottleneck right now, the choke point that decides how fast AI can grow, it isn't either of those. It's memory. We've hit a literal wall. The most advanced AI chips on Earth now sit idle a shocking amount of the time, not because they're not powerful enough or even fast enough, but because they're waiting on the data to get there. And that delay, that comes from one single place, a lack of memory. Chris, think of it this way. An AI chip is like a genius who can answer almost any question in a fraction of a second, but it can only answer as fast as you can hand it that information. So right now, we can't hand that information fast enough. That is the memory bottleneck. That's the choke point. It's the biggest single constraint on AI today. And here's what makes it explosive from where I sit. Only a tiny handful of companies on the planet can make this kind of memory. You can't just spin up a new factory overnight. It takes years and billions of dollars. So when AI demand surges, like I believe it will, right after the election, supply simply cannot keep up. And prices don't drift higher, they spike. We're already seeing the early signs. Memory prices have jumped sharply last year. And one of the biggest makers just saw its earnings explode nearly sevenfold in a single year. That is before the midterm boom even begins. Now, when Republicans clear the runway for increased AI spending after November 3rd, orders for this high-tech memory will go vertical. And the companies that make it, the two on our screen right now, they could be the biggest winners of the entire midterm boom.
I'm just going to ask you point blank here. How do we get the names of those two companies, Jason?
Well, I put everything you need in a brand new report. It's called 2 Memory Stocks to Buy Before the Midterm Boom. Inside, I name both companies, I show you exactly where my system flagged them, and walk you through how to position yourself before November 3rd. These are the 2 names, big names like BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, and Vanguard, they're quietly buying right now. And I want to put them in your hands before the rest of the market figures out what my system already has.
Right, which means every one of you watching right now can get a copy of Jason's special report. Again, it's entitled 2 Memory Stocks to Buy Before the Midterm Boom, free of charge. All we ask, just one favor, take a risk-free membership to Jason's newest venture called Inflection Point. Jason, why don't you tell us about what that is? What is Inflection Point exactly?
Yeah, well, it's where I put my system to work for you every single month. Out of the roughly 5,500 stocks I track, only a tiny fraction ever flashed the signal we talked about today. Elite fundamentals with big money flowing in. And that is a true inflection point for the stock. When things turn for the better and the stock typically takes a long run up. Remember, my system flagged Amazon in 2002 for 20,291% gains, Tesla for 12,754% gains, and NVIDIA all the way back in 2000 for 70,540% gains. These were all companies at an inflection point. And every month in my Inflection Point newsletter, I'll send you another company lighting up green in my flow map. I present all of my research on the stock. I lay out the fundamentals, and I let you decide for yourself if you want to jump on board.
Right. And I will add, too, the track record speaks for itself. More than 85% of the stocks that Jason's system has flagged have gone on to rise in our back test, and the average recommendation, as he pointed out a few minutes ago, has doubled. Now, the regular price for a one-year membership to Inflection Point is $499, and honestly, given the inside Wall Street knowledge behind this system and the potential of these two memory stocks in the midterm boom, that's a big bargain right there. But we don't want price to be the thing that keeps you on the sidelines before the midterms on November 3rd. So Jason has approved a steep discount. And right now, before the midterm election. But before we tell you how low the price is, I think there's something else that you want to share with everybody, right?
Well, that's right, because the midterm boom won't just stop at memory. I put together a second report for you, The Coming Robotics Boom, How to Profit from AI's Next Trillion-Dollar Wave. Now, robotics, it's following the exact same path that the smartphone did. The technology curves are all converging at once. And the aging of the developed world means these machines aren't just a luxury anymore. They're becoming a necessity. NVIDIA's Jensen Huang says the ChatGPT moment for robots is right around the corner. And Elon Musk, he plans to build and sell over 1 million Optimus robots. This is the next huge wave in technology. And my system is already lighting up green across the space. My system flags one stock specifically. It's leading the way when it comes to robotics and the big Wall Street institutions. I'm seeing very early movement here. But with the election spelling good news for tech in the market, I think this institutional activity could pick up quickly. Plus, Elon Musk seems on the verge of announcing the public availability of Optimus robots very soon. So you'll want to get in on this stock right away to capture the big move. I'm going to share the name of this stock with you in my second special report, The Coming Robotics Boom, How to Profit from AI's Next Trillion-Dollar Wave.
And that report is also free of charge and just consider it an extra bonus when you join Inflection Point tonight.
That's right. And that's not all, Chris, because while AI is obviously a big story and we think memory stocks will lead the way, that's not the only place we're seeing institutional activity in high-quality stocks. So I put together a third report, the Midterm Boom Watch List, 5 more outlier stocks. We're seeing a handful of other stocks getting quietly bought up ahead of November 3rd. I put the 5 best in this report. I put the names, the tickers, and exactly where each one ranks on my system. It's like looking over my shoulder as the midterm boom kicks off.
Right. And all 3 of those reports are yours for free the moment that you join Inflection Point. So that includes, just to run down the list again, 2 memory stocks to buy before the midterm boom, The Coming Robotics Boom, How to Profit from AI's Next Trillion-Dollar Wave, the Midterm Boom Watch List, 5 more outlier stocks, which Jason just mentioned, and of course, the main event, 12 months of Inflection Point, Jason's monthly research and his very best recommendations. It also includes his full model portfolio and real-time buy-sell alerts. So a full year of this would normally run $499, but today, you're not going to pay anywhere close to that. Your price to get started is just $179, and even better, you're completely protected. Try Inflection Point for a full 30 days and try it risk-free. If it's not everything that we say it is, for any reason at all, just call our team and we'll refund every penny. And you can keep all 3 midterm boom reports, even if you decide that it's not for you. So there's absolutely no risk at this point. All you've got to do is to get started by clicking on the button that you see below, and you'll be taken to a secure page where you can review everything before you confirm. Jason, we're almost out of time here. Any final thoughts you want to share before we go?
Yeah. Well, you know what? In 20 years on Wall Street, Chris, I learned one thing the hard way. The biggest money is made before the crowd shows up. By the time a move is on the front page, those easy gains are behind us. Right now, my system is showing me the biggest institutions on planet Earth are quietly moving into these two memory stocks. They're not waiting. And November 3rd, it's the spark. You can watch it happen from the sidelines, or you can step in front of it today.
Well said. And folks, if you would like to become an Inflection Point member, please click that button you see below and you'll be taken to that secure order form page where you can review all the details of the offer and make sure that it's right for you, of course. So one more time, here's everything you're going to get when you join Inflection Point today. Special report, 2 memory stocks to buy before the midterm boom. That's what we spent most of our time on here today. The 2 under-the-radar AI memory companies that BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, and Vanguard are quietly loading up on right now. You get the names, the tickers, and exactly when to buy. Then there's special report, the coming robotics boom, how to profit from AI's next trillion-dollar wave. And in that, you're going to learn the name of the early stage robotic stock that's flashing green on Jason's flow map right now. It's positioned for its chat GPT moment for robots that Jensen Huang and Elon Musk both say are right around the corner. Special report, the midterm boom watch list, 5 more outlier stocks. So 5 more names that the smart money is quietly buying ahead of November 3rd, and each one is ranked by Jason's system. You're going to get to look straight over his shoulder as the boom kicks off here. Then you get a full year of Inflection Point. Jason's Wall Street flow map works for you every single month, hunting the rare stocks where big institutional money and elite fundamentals collide. It's the same signal that flagged Celestica, Broadcom, and Palantir before they ran up triple and quadruple digits. You get real-time buy and sell alerts. So that means the instant that the big money starts moving in or quietly sneaking out, whichever the case may be, you get the call. Never find out after the move is already over. You also get Jason's complete model portfolio. That means every open position, every buy up to price, every profit-taking signal is all in one place. You're getting that X-ray vision, as we called it, on Wall Street's smart money. Finally, you get to see where the biggest institutions on Earth are positioning weeks and sometimes even months before it ever hits the headlines. And then don't forget about that rock-solid 30-day guarantee. Take it all for a full test drive, and if it's not everything we say, get every penny back. Keep all 3 reports anyway. And remember, too, why timing really matters here. You know, the midterm boom has happened every time for the last 78 years. It is coming again on November 3rd. The smartest money on Wall Street already positioning itself in the exact 2 stocks that Jason's system has flagged. Once this move is underway, the window to get in early closes very, very fast. The first few weeks, as Jason told us earlier, first few weeks of the midterm boom tend to be the hottest, and you certainly don't want to be reading about these stocks after they've already made their run up. But with Jason's incredible system, you're never going to be behind the market again. You can trade along with all the giants out there long before the market picks up on it. Now, of course, all investments carry risk. Past performance does not guarantee future success. Please don't invest more than you're willing to lose. Click that button below and join Inflection Point. Lock in your $179 price. Get all 3 free bonus reports right now. Do it before the November 3rd midterm boom starts. Just click the button below, and you can have those reports rushed to your inbox within minutes. Jason, I want to thank you so much for taking time with us today.
Chris, thanks so much for having me. And I want to thank everyone at home for joining us today, too. I hope to see you all as members of Inflection Point. And remember, let the money come to you.